Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Stuck on your commute again? Bad Wi-Fi? No signal? Nothing to do? Time to make your ride a lot more fun with Royal Kingdom. It's a puzzle game that's relaxing, challenging, and works perfectly offline. With no ads and amazing graphics, every level feels fresh and satisfying. Each round only takes a few minutes, ideal for a daily commute or wherever you have a little bit of time. So download Royal Kingdom now on Google Play or App Store.
Hey everyone, it's Russell.
And Christine.
So I just found this mobile game everyone's talking about. Royal Match. Gorgeous graphics and super fun puzzles.
Bro, you're late. I'm already at level 700. I play it every day on the subway because it doesn't need Wi-Fi.
Wait, what? I've got to catch up.
Oh, and they just added new mini-games. They make it even more fun and challenging.
Alright, show's over. I'm gonna go play.
Download Royal Match on the App Store or Google Play today.
A PSA from Instacart. It's Sunday, 5 p.m. You had a non-stop weekend. You're running on empty, and so is your fridge. You're in the trenches of the Sunday scaries. You don't have it in you to go to the store, but this is your reminder. You don't have to. You can get everything you need delivered through Instacart so that you can get what you really need. More time to do whatever you want. Instacart. For one less Sunday scary, we're here.
So I took 3 very packed pages of notes, and Phoebe just told me she took 27.
Yeah. No, yes.
Remember our cold open of The Lightning Thief when you took 22 pages of notes on the entire book? And I was like, that's crazy, Phoebe.
And now this is 30-minute episode of television.
And you took 27 pages.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monster Donut episode of Monster Donut. A literary and historical deep dive into the Percy Jackson series and all of its following spin-offs. I'm Phoebe, a dramaturg and story consultant.
I'm Emily, a classic scholar-ish.
And today we're covering Season 2, Episode 4 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Clarisse Blows Up Everything.
I'm going to say it again. I texted Phoebe this earlier. The episode of all time.
Yeah. This was immediately my favorite episode of the show so far. I watched this episode late at night, thinking, oh, I'll just watch this and then I'll go to bed. I'll throw it on. And and then I couldn't go to sleep for the next 3 hours because I was just buzzing.
I was almost crying as I was going through it slowly today, and it's hard to get me.
Yeah, there are certain episodes that invent television all over again, and this is one of them in my opinion. As always, spoiler warning, we'll be bringing up things from at least the first series. Probably the short stories will be coming up today, but the second and third series are fair game. Every book in the Percy Jackson universe that's come out is fair game. So if you're not caught up and you want to be, maybe leave and come back. Okay, let's go.
Oh my god. Okay, so first of all, once again, we are opening our episode on a circular light it's an eye again, but this time in the form of a grate.
Mm-hmm.
And we open on Annabeth in a sewer, going to a safe space where she, Luke, and Thalia once upon a time had stashed some stuff. And my first question to you, Phoebe, is what does it feel like to win? Because you've been campaigning for your safe house scene for so long.
Of course. They couldn't get rid of it. If you're a fan of I've been seeing people call it the Broken Trio. I've always called it the Runaway Trio. If you're a fan of them at all, you have to include this, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I saw this little moment in the teaser for this episode, I figured that this was going to be the show's version of the safe house. I don't know where I thought it was going to go. I guess I thought, maybe she's got, a tent or some sleeping bags or something stashed away in this box. But then when she turned and saw the bracelet on the floor, I immediately shouted, no, because I recognized it.
Yeah, we've probably posted this picture on social media at this point, but we did get to see the Monster Donut Box and Bracelet when we visited set in January.
Yeah, but we had no idea how they were going to use it.
Yeah. We theorized.
Yeah, we theorized. I actually got fairly close to what it ended up being.
Mhm.
My, like, biggest hope for the bracelet was that it was going to be, like, exchanged between two people. My guesses were, like, Tyson giving it to Annabeth, or it was going to be involved in the flashback somehow. But, like, all of the pictures of us holding it are us, like, smiling away, not knowing that it's, like, an evil cursed bracelet. I think I texted Daphne, like, I called it, like, the bracelet of broken promises.
Okay, well, first of all, that's really interesting because I have a completely different read on the bracelet that we'll get into later, but
it's just such a heartbreaking little moment that,
yeah.
like, we had no idea. We were just we were guessing what might come of this, but, like, when I saw the bracelet, I started piecing together what I was about to see. And just immediately, like, turned to my dog on the couch and was like, Sadie, you don't understand. You don't understand what's about to happen.
I remember really liking your Tyson theory of, like, Tyson going, we thought it would be like Tyson goes out to get food or something and comes back with the cereal.
Yeah.
Like something close to the original, but without a Hydra, basically.
Pretty much. That we would get, like, the scene in the safe house with, like, Percy and Annabeth, which we kind of got in the last episode on the boat.
Mm-hmm.
It starts with a scene similar to that of the two of them talking about what Luke said about Thalia on the ship, that, like, she would have joined him. And so we kind of got that last episode. We didn't get, unfortunately, one of my favorite lines from that scene, which is the, you would have been best friends or tried to strangle each other line. But we can always come back to that. We can get to that later, guys. It's okay.
I will say it would be hard, like, seeing the way, like, Tamara plays Thalia. Like, I do see its potential, but I feel like it would be hard for me to wrap my head around Annabeth saying, you two are really similar, like, the way she plays Thalia compared to the way, like, or at least, maybe not the way she plays Thalia, but the way we see Thalia, because we see Thalia from, like, Annabeth's perspective in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard to, like, imagine this person that Annabeth sees as, like, older, wiser, maternal. Like, it's hard to see her paralleled with Percy, I think, from the, like, 7-year-old Annabeth perspective.
Yeah. There is a lot still there, though, I think, in, like, her protective instincts and her intensity in this episode. Like, the parallels maybe aren't so explicit, but, like, I feel like I can see them starting to build them in.
I thought it was really interesting also. It was only on the rewatch that I was thinking about this, but, like, the fact that Annabeth first finds the bracelet also in water. Like, it's in this, like, canal, weird drainage ditch thing. And part of it is, like, I mean, it looks stagnant, like it's not moving at all, but, like, I was like, how improbable is that, like, it's still
stayed
there?
Yeah. And you think with, like, you know, floods or any kind of heavy rainfall.
Yeah, it's been, what, like 7 years?
Yeah.
It felt like that was connected to what happens later in this episode.
Do we want to, before we get into this flashback, return very quickly to Annabeth's story about being on the run from episode 4 of last season?
Yes.
Because I went back and basically just wrote down everything that she says in that scene. She says about Thalia, she was tough. I mean, she knew she was a forbidden kid, she just didn't care. When Luke and Thalia found me, Luke cared for me right away. But Thalia, she made me earn it. I just think it's important to keep in mind, because when we watched that scene, we were like, okay, this is kind of the clearest image that we get this season of Thalia, and who she was specifically to Annabeth.
A big question that gets asked in episode 3 is who knew Thalia best, as we sort of, it even gets asked, like, in the Sea of Monsters in that scene.
Yeah, and I think that's a big question that we're keeping in mind while we're watching this episode also. Anyway, enough stalling. So, we cut to a flashback. We hear Luke's voice saying, Annabeth, stop.
The, like, concern in his voice.
Yeah. He does clearly care for her so much in this flashback. Like, he's so sweet to her, and, like, everything that he says in this scene pretty much is for her benefit. Just trying to make her feel safe. Like, the lines after he yells out for her to stop are like, we made it, we're good, let me go first.
And he's, like, talking her through, like, oh, like, we've got this stuff here. And when she's worried, like, he's saying to her about Thalia, like, has she ever let us down? He also has a lantern. Which is funny to me.
The note I wrote down was Luke and his lanterns. Let's kill that guy, is the bullet point. There's also this line in, like, he hasn't turned on the lantern yet. They're talking about what's chasing them, which we find out are Cyclopses. And Luke says, they're Cyclopses. From what I hear, they're not that smart. It's just a funny line to hear after the last episode, after him, like, defending the monsters. And, I don't know, his changing perspective on monsters over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, he switches on the lantern. We get a clear view of him and baby Annabeth.
She's so cute.
She's so cute. She's so small.
And she's got her Yankee shirt on.
Unfortunately, Yankees fan Annabeth confirmed. I don't know why when she's from Virginia, but we do also have to acknowledge Luke's clothes.
Yes. That hair.
The hair, yes. I was enjoying the hair because the design I came up with for Luke long ago, for when, child Luke, was always that he had his hair sort of hanging down where his scar would be in the future. Just some hair foreshadowing, I guess. And that's kind of what it's doing here. It's hanging over the eye that will be scarred in the future. But he's very bundled up. He's got a beanie and a hood. It's far from the clothes that he wears now.
Yeah. My impression on it was that it felt like these were, like, his clothes he was wearing to impress Thalia, kind of. Like, like, I don't know, like, her aesthetic is so established. Like, she is so punk. And I think, like, the hair plus the beanie plus, like, you know, it feels very, like, scene or emo kid to me. I don't know, like...
Yeah, I was thinking of it as just, like, these are the clothes that I have accumulated over time to keep me warm. Yeah. But I was reading into, like, specifically the hair, the side part, and the beanie and the hood. Like, there's just a lot of covering that he's doing up top.
Yeah, because he doesn't seem as comfortable in his outfit as Thalia is. Like, Thalia, this is who she is. She's comfortable, she can move, she has everything dialed. For him, it doesn't seem as, like... established, especially since we've seen him
present day having a very established aesthetic.
Yeah, it's like he's hiding with his clothes.
So Luke tries to reassure Annabeth that they're safe, but Luke can tell she's still scared, so he gets an idea. He digs into this box of supplies that they've got for an old open box of Monster Donut cereal.
Like, he first pulls it up, it just says family size.
Right.
Which, again, I saw in the box. I didn't really think much of, because it just looks like a cereal box, like when we saw it in person. But the way it's shot here, where it's like family size first, and then, like, I was like, oh my god, they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me.
But he pulls out the Monster Donut box, reaches inside, pulls out a bracelet.
I think this was the point at which I threw my hands up and was just like, oh my god.
Yeah, it just gets worse and worse. It just... Like, I saw the bracelet on the floor and was like, oh no, it's going to be related to whatever the flashback is. And then the flashback kept going and I was like, oh no, this is going to be really bad for me.
It feels personal, to be honest. It feels
like both a gift and like someone is stabbing me at the same time.
So, you know, the Luke Castellan experience.
Right. Yeah, the Luke girl experience. But he crouches back down, puts it around her wrist, and tells her that it's a protection charm, that it's magic, like Thalia's bracelet. And then says it's from Kalagia, goddess of stealth. You hide while wearing this, monsters can't find you. Luke's way of comforting her is to lie. And to make a promise to her with this bracelet that, like, he can't possibly keep. I just think Luke does this thing in, especially the early books, like, early on in his life, where he'll do things without, like, fully thinking through the consequences. Like, he'll just, like, he's never those 6 steps ahead. He's, like, maybe 2 or 3 at most, and then acts with the confidence of a man who is those 6 steps ahead. But, like, his first thought being, oh, I'll give Annabeth this bracelet and tell her that she's safe as long as she's wearing it, and that will help her right now. Like, he's not thinking ahead of that. He's just thinking, right now, this will comfort Annabeth. not thinking, inevitably, probably sooner rather than later, monsters will find her, and that protection will be gone, the comfort will be gone, and I'll have lied to her, and she'll be scared all over again. Like, it's a very sweet moment, but it is this, like, gift that can only be broken. Like, it can, like, there's no way that keeps its meaning for longer than, I don't know, a day.
The way you just put it, too, isn't this very similar to the promise he makes when he gives her the knife in the short story?
Here, I'll pull that up. Should I put up The Last Olympian or pull up...
Let's compare.
Let's compare and
get all the
contrast.
versions.
What's a word that would only show up in that scene? Hammer. Yeah, so he says when he first finds her, how do you like a real monster-slaying weapon? This is celestial bronze. Works a lot better than a hammer. Knives are only for the bravest and quickest fighters. They don't have the reach or power of a sword, but they're easy to conceal and they can find weak spots in your enemy's armor. It takes a clever warrior to use a knife. I have a feeling you're pretty clever. And then at the end of the scene, you're part of our family now, and I promise I'm not going to fail you like our families did us. Deal?
I was like, similar sentiment, different words.
Yes, similar sentiment as in, like, I'm giving you this thing that is meant to protect you, especially coming off of Luke's diary, because we know what the dagger means at that point. Oh, interesting. There's a longer version of this promise in The Last Olympian. Interesting. Okay. In The Last Olympian, he says, you're part of our family now, and I promise I won't let anything hurt you. I'm not going to fail you like our families did us. Deal? I promise I won't let anything hurt you isn't in Luke's diary. Why would he leave that out? Because we know that the version in The Last Olympian is true, because it's a vision of what actually happened that Percy has. In Luke's version of events, he leaves that part of the promise out. And every other line of dialogue is the same. Breaking news, everyone. There's something going on.
Luke and
Stellan's lying?
I'm just picturing, like, in his diary, it's, like, crossed out now.
Yeah.
He's rereading it at some point. Oh.
But that line actually makes it more similar to what's in this scene. But it is interesting because that line is also similar to something that Thalia says in this same, like, promise that they added in at the end. Like, that they gave to Thalia instead of Luke.
So my follow-up question is, does this mean this bracelet is now the cursed blade?
The bracelet is the cursed blade now. No, so my theory, I'll just say it now because we're talking about it. I think Luke still has the dagger. I think what he's holding in this scene when Grover comes in is the dagger. It's so dark in this scene that I can't really tell. But he's holding something short and dagger shaped, which means that, like, if we get another flashback that takes place after this, I could see him giving her the dagger then as something to protect her, or, like, he might have given it to her later. I don't know. Annabeth doesn't pull out a dagger in this scene as a 7-year-old, and it seems like he might still have it.
I know in my bones we're getting Thalia's death from Luke's POV.
I know. I'm like waiting for the Luke POV version of these flashbacks in, should we guess, episode 7?
7. Because we don't know what the fuck's happening in that one. Like, we don't. I do have a couple thoughts on this moment that are different from what you just said. First of all, when Luke's like, Calagia, the goddess of stealth, you know who the actual god of stealth is?
Who could it be?
Hermes. And I was interesting too because I noticed one of Thalia's earrings was a cross, and I was just like, that's so interesting. Like, I think, especially with, like, Luke lying to her about a fake god to make her feel better, like, it just feels like they don't, like, it just shows me their feelings on their godly parents very succinctly, which is just so, like, they just don't really give any regard to that. Like, they sort of have to, in the sense of, like, this is why they have to live their lives the way that they're living them. But, like, there's just this flippant, like, I don't care about this world to both of them, and they don't hold any reverence for it. That I think is really interesting, where they're just like, whatever. Yeah. To me, it's interesting because it, like, grounds them to me in a world outside of camp, too, which is also interesting considering the way we know, like, Annabeth's characterized, which is as someone that doesn't really know any other world. It reminded me of, in Luke's diary, how we kept talking about, like, all these moments that could have been signs from Hermes that Luke's like, nah, like, that's almost intentional, just ignoring of, like, the world you come from. And I was thinking about that, too, with specific regards to, like, the bracelet in this episode, where it's just like the continuing rejection of, like, maybe this is coming back now for a reason, and maybe there's something happening here that's not natural. So Luke tells Annabeth, if you hide while wearing this bracelet, monsters can't find you. The immediate next line is,
Thalia's first lines, which are, Luke, they found us. Just an immediate, the promise is immediately broken. But also, Thalia's first words being calling out to Luke, her partner, her friend, and also she's the deliverer of the broken promise, which is fun. But the rest of this line is positions now. And the positions that they take are Thalia gets in front of them with her spear at the ready. Luke stands behind her, I think holding the dagger in front of Annabeth. So positions are basically like, get behind me.
Feels about right, yeah.
It makes so much sense based on his diary. Like, he just sort of follows Thalia's lead. Even if he doesn't, like, totally agree with what she's saying, he just kind of does it.
Yeah. I was thinking about that a lot, like, this characterization of Thalia. I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. The second she gets on screen, her presence is so... I'd follow her anywhere. I get it.
She just comes in with, like, so much authority. There's kind of some Thalia Clarisse parallels going on in this episode that most of my notes on it are later, but I do think her, like, entering in sort of a similar way, not the exact same way, but a similar way of, like, entering with, like, a call to action, like, Clarisse coming in with the, like, bows ready, you know, like, and Thalia coming in with the, like, positions now.
They have the spears.
They have spears. Yeah, I'll get further into those two, but I just am now thinking, like, their entrances are a similar brand of, like, I'm in control. So they are in position, and in walks Grover. I wasn't expecting Grover.
And this is interesting, too, because it's a bit of a reversal, right? Like, we're expecting monsters to come in. And at first, you can't even tell it's him. He runs up so fast, and she just immediately, like, flips him over, like, with the... it is such a cool move.
I'm kind of surprised we never saw this in the book. Right? Like, we never saw Grover meet them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's, like, why Tree on the Hill was so moving for me, like, when we first saw the Lightning Thief musical, because that was a moment where I was like, I've never gotten Grover's perspective on this moment.
Yeah. He tells them that he is Thalia's protector. He kind of throws a lot of stuff at them that, like, I would assume that they wouldn't know what it means. Of, like, I'm your protector. I'm coming from Chiron at Camp Half-Blood. Doesn't explain what Camp Half-Blood is. But apparently we know. So. And then says that if you come with him, he can keep them safe.
This is probably a good time to lead into the first question we asked the showrunners when we got to talk to them, which was about the scene. All of our questions were kind of about this scene, actually, for this episode, but not about this scene, but just about the flashback. So
yeah.
You've been warned. But honestly, are we surprised? No.
When we were planning our questions, we were talking about, like, what's our favorite episode from this season? And then we looked down at our list, and, like, all of the questions were about episode 4, and we were like, oh. So we have now seen the first 4 episodes of this season, and they are completely insane.
Good insane?
Good insane. Very good insane. But I do feel that we need to start by talking about this evil monster donut scene that you put into the show.
Is it an evil scene?
It's evil as in it's heartbreaking and diabolical of you.
I was wondering how you guys were going to feel about it.
Yeah. But we're now centering it on Luke and Annabeth and this bracelet that kind of haunts the 4th episode. So we're curious, where did this version of the scene come from, and why was this where it felt right for the flashbacks to start?
Well, we knew that it had to happen after you'd met Tyson and met Luke and gotten into all that established underfoot before we start to peel back the curtain on their relationship with Thalia, which we know the tree is damaged. Thalia, we've heard about her, and we really, really wanted to figure out a way to see Thalia. Earlier in the season, we had the Demigod Diaries. We knew so much about what they had gone through, and it felt like in an episode in which Annabeth had just been really shaken by what Luke said of, you don't know Thalia. Mm-hmm. You didn't know her as well as I did. That would be the proper time to kind of look back, and see young Luke, young Annabeth, young Thalia.
But you're gonna get cereal boxes. We've got to put the cereal out.
It's amazing. I loved my glimpse of the cereal box.
And And then we transition to the transitioning shot from this scene to the next is Annabeth sort of squatting, holding the bracelet, staring at it. And then it transitions to Tyson sitting on a log, so not quite the same position, but he's in a very similar, like, sitting, looking at his hands, staring at, like, the boat. And a moment that had me, like, again, it feels very paralleled with these two. And the parallel I came up with, Annabeth in that moment in the bracelet is being taken back to a time when she was sort of the one needing to be taken care of and protected.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we transition to Tyson, who I think Percy sort of feels that same responsibility for.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's sort of that that's the, like, connective tissue to me between these two in this moment. And especially considering how this episode ends with, like, in a way, Percy kind of having some of the blame for Tyson and what happens in the Ironclad. I don't know. It feels like that, to me, makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we have a conversation between Percy and Tyson.
Tyson says, Annabeth said you're dangerous, that you're going to hurt everyone. I don't like her talking about you like that.
That was not the direction I expected this conversation to go.
It's so sweet and, like, protective of him, but it's also, like, kind of one of the first negative things he's said about anyone.
And the thing is, like, Annabeth didn't even mean it to be hurtful. She was just like, there's this prophecy about, like, I don't get that vibe. So it's so interesting to me that Tyson, who sees only the good in everybody, is picking up a negative vibe in a conversation that I don't.
Yeah. It's funny because, like, in the book, Annabeth is pretty hostile toward Tyson because he's a Cyclops. And in the show, she was wary of him, probably because of that, but she came around much quicker. But at the same time, we've added in him overhearing Annabeth telling Bronte to take Percy's chariot out. We've added in her keeping secrets and him hearing her not being able to answer Percy when he asks if she thinks he's going to hurt everyone. So, like, the version of Annabeth that Tyson is meeting is, like, in a sort of unstable moment in her relationship with Percy. So it's almost like if there's tension here, it's coming from this protective instinct that Tyson has toward Percy and that he wants to side with Percy in, like, this kind of whatever's going on between them that he's picking up on, instead of it coming from, you know, Annabeth being mean.
I actually have a lot to say about Annabeth in this episode.
Oh, of course. Starting
in this next scene where there's no Hydra, but we do still get Clarisse announcing her presence with cannon fire, which I like. Dior in this episode, oh my god. So good. Every minute of her performance I was loving. Her introduction here is also interesting because when they ask her how she found them, she says, my dad can't point me to the, I'm paraphrasing, but she says, my dad can't point me to the fleece, but he can point me to my enemies, which I love. But which also implies to me that she said a prayer to her dad at some point off screen that I feel like must also kind of be in parallel to all of the prayers we're seeing all these other characters make. But hers is, it's not like, give me a sign, it's find Percy Jackson so I can end it.
Yeah, and I'm sure Aries was happy to answer that one.
It seems that Clarisse's relationship with her crew has really turned a corner since her last speech. Yeah.
She's learned their names.
Yeah, she knows their stories, too. Like, she's clearly been talking to all of them. And I love that coming off of the last episode, where she's just, like, been spending time with her crew and, like, getting to know them. Interesting tidbits here are the Boris, their mechanic. She mentions that he died in the Battle of Tsushima, which was in the Russo-Japanese War, which I thought was actually pretty interesting because apparently this defeat was... basically the Russian fleet had severely outnumbered the Japanese fleet, but the Japanese defeated them, and the casualties were like over 5,000 on the Russian side and like 117 on the Japanese side. They like sank all their ships. So it's like a very brutal defeat. And then she also shouts out Canthus, who is an actual Argonaut. So I was wrong. I thought he was a Carthaginian. Turns out he's an Argonaut, even way older than Carthaginian. I looked this guy up to see if there was anything interesting. He was killed in Libya while raiding, like, on a cattle raid for the Argonauts. So I was like, oh, that's kind of like Odyssey-like. He also might be a grandson of Poseidon. I just like the fun details. Clarisse demands the real coordinates from Percy, and he challenges her to single combat.
Yeah, I love this moment because it's how he beat Ares. It's also how he tries to beat Luke in the book, where he says, like, you know, he's surrounded by people who could take him down, and so his strategy is challenge them to single combat so that they look weak if they turn me down. Like, I imagine that his sort of internal monologue is similar. And it's also, we can't forget, this is the lesson that he learned from Luke in the show.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, I win, you give us your ship, and you and your men stay here. And Clarisse agrees. And we get our second Percy and Clarisse fight.
The fight choreography this season is just...
Yeah. I love that Clarisse still starts it off smiling, the same way she started their first one. And Percy, do we imagine he's practiced at all? Do we imagine that he, like, was like, oh, I can do this, after not practicing his sword fighting for an entire year? Or
I'm sure his inner monologue in this moment was like, of course I could take her. My question mark here was, did he know what Annabeth was going to do?
I think no.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, it is a great moment of, like, them working in tandem, but if it had been a plan that they both understood, I feel like they would have made eye contact, at least.
Yeah.
But no, I think Percy kind of went into this like, I'm a little rusty, but I have gotten better. I basically beat her last time, and I had no training really at that point, so, like...
Yeah. I mean, they're also, like, right by the water, too.
We're right by the water. Easy.
Honestly, you know what went through his head? He was like, just like your dad. And then he looked at the
Yeah,
shore
and he
was
went,
like,
yeah, I
just
got this.
like your dad.
But he's actually doing much better this time. Like, he kind of has the upper hand by the end of the fight. He doesn't get to finish it, because Annabeth does sneak off and kill specifically the guys that Clarisse introduced.
Which is so smart of her, but oh my god, is it ruthless. I watched it twice today, and the second time around, I had this moment where I was like, you know what this almost feels like? It feels like the Scylla scene at the end. It's just like, for the men, the experience would be similar of, like, one of them gets killed, and then you can't figure out where it's coming from, what's going on, how to fight it, and then the next one falls, And it's interesting, too, because 3 of them die, and then with Scylla, at the end of the episode, 3 of them also die.
Yeah.
Before everything goes sideways, literally. I don't know what it means, but it's just this moment of, like...
Annabeth as Scylla, strategically picking off the crew, Percy as Charybdis, a whirlwind force of nature, Clarisse between them. But it's the same choice, sort of, that Annabeth tries to push Clarisse to later on. Because she does, like, when Clarisse says you killed them, Annabeth says they were already dead, so not really.
I thought this was so interesting, too. Because I think we talk a lot about monstrosity and the way that, like... especially in the books, I think with Tyson, Percy is sort of one of the only people that really, like, sees the humanity in Tyson, at least in the beginning. And I thought it was so interesting how both Percy and Annabeth are so, like, but they're already dead in this episode, when, like, Clarisse is like, no, they're people. I made a promise. Like, she feels so responsible for them, and she views them with a humanity that they don't. Although in the same breath, she says, I don't care about Grover.
So Clarisse is pretty much forced to take them on board to replace the crewmates that they killed. We cut from here onto the Ironclad, where Percy and Clarisse are arguing, looking at a map.
That's not a map. They're looking at Clarisse's mythomagic set. Clarisse is a mythomagic kid, to the point that she brings a box of mythomagic stuff with her on her quest.
And she wasn't going to be there with anyone. Solo games of mythomagic.
Or maybe it was already on the ship.
Or she saw she had an entire crew and was like, hang on. Let me go back and grab something.
Maybe that's how they're getting to know each other. They're playing mythomagic.
Right. But Clarisse is explaining to Percy that in order to enter the Sea of Monsters, they have to choose between Charybdis or Scylla, is how we're pronouncing it in the show. And Percy's arguing that we could just go around it.
But Annabeth explains that with the rules of the Sea of Monsters, you can't sail around the obstacles. They'll just always appear in their path. And
so she's arguing for the Odysseus choice, which is Scylla. Just kill those guys. But Clarisse feels like she owes them Elysium now. She made that promise and she has to keep it. I kind of love her optimism of, like, I was going to ask Ares when we win. And it's like, those are two things that, like, You think Ares is going to listen to you and do that for you? And also you're like, when we win, when your prophecy says you will fail.
I mean, that's sort of her thing, though. Like, we ended the last episode with her saying, like, fuck fate, basically.
Yeah. I just love her, like, her determination.
I wrote down this quote, too, where Annabeth says to her, the choice of who to sacrifice to win the battle should be no problem for a daughter of Ares.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting on so many... Okay, the first level this is interesting to me on is that's sort of what I was getting at earlier, is I think this is where we're seeing Annabeth as, like, the darker side of strategy. Like, the darker side of a strategist, where it is true that, like, making moves in battle like this does require sacrifice. And part of what makes you a good general is the willingness to sacrifice some for a victory in some respects. And I think, like, I mean, we talk about, like, in the Lightning Thief musical, one of our favorite lines, I think, is, like, when Percy is like, hey, I could have, like, that plan could have hurt me. And she's like, it would have worked either way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a side of Annabeth I feel like we're really coming to understand in this episode, especially. Where it comes from for me is also her response to seeing Luke last episode. Because, I mean, we get in the final scene, like, she's talking about the great prophecy. Like, there's a choice in there. And I think she's thinking a lot about choices this episode.
Yes. We're all thinking a lot about choices in this episode.
Yes. And I feel like that has to come from, like, seeing Luke and realizing... I think she's grappling with her own choices that she's been making. So I think part of her is, like, maybe if I make more dramatic and harsher choices, maybe I can regain control. Like, that's what it feels like to me.
That makes some sense to me. Because what I was about to say was, like, I feel like Annabeth kind of has the same dilemma going on in her head that Clarisse has going on right now a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's so, you know, she knows what the strategic choice might be, but she is so, like, heart-driven a lot of the time. Like, I think obviously dealing with Luke is a big part of that. But also my first thought was, like, book 4, when she's like, it doesn't make sense for me to bring 4 people with me, but I want it to be a 4-person quest because it just feels right. Like, that battle between making the strategic choice and making the one that, like, emotionally feels right. It's something we see her struggle with a lot. And so it would make sense to me if she's coming out of that moment with Luke, thinking about choices, thinking about how she needs to be more strategic if she wants to keep Percy safe, especially since she and Thalia made, like, heart choices that ended up landing them there, and saying, okay, I'm going to double down and have to play this quest as strategically as possible. There's 2 moments at the end that I want to clock. One of them is Clarisse, after she's been given this sort of, here's what reason is speech. Clarisse looks away from both of them and just sort of stares down at her not map. And there's a moment where we're on Percy's face where it seems like he realizes that, like, there's more going on in Clarisse's head. He's very emotionally intelligent in this episode. And so I just wanted to flag this moment for later. But the second moment is once Clarisse walks away, he says, it's the right choice, she'll see that. And when Annabeth says, how do you know that it's the right choice? He says, honestly, because it's yours, which is sweet on the surface. Not what Annabeth needs to hear right now.
Yeah. This episode, to me, it really feels like it's about people putting faith in other people.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically putting faith in people they're choosing to lead them.
Yep.
And then on the other side, the people who are being given that faith and what they do with it.
Yeah, that's, like, one of the big questions of this episode for sure that we'll get to. So Annabeth heads up to the deck. She's looking down at this bracelet again. We end up back in a flashback. We're at a satyr hideout, apparently.
Which is a herm.
Yes, there's a herm in the middle of the clearing. He says, as long as you stay in this circle of trees, they won't find us, which is the same promise as the bracelet, but real.
There's the herm in the middle, and then Grover points out there's the symbol for Pan on it, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder, like, if these herms are actually, like, travel guides for satyrs or symbols for, like, who put the symbol for Pan there?
I mean, last season we got a satyr path. So I think there is just, like, this network of, like, places where it's safe for satyrs to go on their quest for Pan.
It's like, it feels like a pilgrimage, too, to me. like, I think people use the word pilgrimage a lot, but, like, there's, like, very real pilgrimages that are, like, paths you are supposed to follow as part of, like, your worship. Like, Camino de Santiago in Spain, where it's just, like, a designated path with way markers that you're supposed to go on. Or, like, people have, like, there's, like, places to sleep at night, and it's, like, a very community-based, like, trek you go on, but, like, also kind of about your faith. So it made me think of, like, I wonder if a lot of the search for Pan to a lot of satyrs isn't so much a literal thing as it is, like, a finding of your faith thing, which is an interesting idea. Because, like, culturally speaking, this has been around for thousands of years at this point, and no one's found him. So maybe a little something there with faith, too. But anyway, I know I sat straight up when we get this next little bit from Luke and Thalia.
Yeah. So Grover starts telling them about all of the other things that exist in the world that apparently we've never heard of. Apparently we've only heard of monsters and gods. Grover says that there's so much more to this world than you realize. Like, he's attempting to sell it. And then Luke comes in with, and all we have to do is join Cult Half-Blood. Why does he feel this way before he even gets there? Like, I have some theories, but...
I do too. But then we get the line from Thalia where she says, hold on.
Yeah. No, don't do it.
Oh, fine. For those who are unclear, Phoebe's immediately clocking that I was about to do a British accent. Luke and your camp have history, and I don't want anything to do with my father's world. Luke and the camp have history?
Yeah. We're going to talk more about that, I think, than we are about what Thalia said, but it is interesting what Thalia said about herself.
Yeah.
Because we talked about how she does seem to, like, in Luke's diary, seems to, like, and even in the Titan's Curse, has some sort of wish to be a part of her father's world. She has these feelings about Zeus that we've talked about, that, like, you know, she actually attributes a lot of what happens to them as, like, oh, that's Zeus helping us. You know, this was sent by Zeus. But I think we're leaning further into Thalia thinks a little bit more like Luke in the show.
I can see this also. I took this almost personally as well. Like, I can see it also, like, she's not necessarily talking about the mythological world, but just talking about, like, she doesn't want to be around her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just thinking about the backstory with, like, at the very least, like, she knows what happened with her mom.
Yeah.
She's sort of in a place right now where she doesn't want anything to do with that guy. And it's about the guy, not necessarily the world. But let's talk about Luke's history with Camp Half-Blood for a second.
Yeah.
Now, one could read this as it's May, and it's what we know in the book.
Yeah, but he was a baby when that happened. Like, there's a possibility that, like, May just told him about Camp Half-Blood.
The image we get of May in the books, I could see, like, she's not well.
Yeah.
And she talks very optimistically about the mythological world.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see you kind of growing up with that. And also knowing that, like, your mom went to this place and came back not okay.
Yeah.
And in that way, like, the altered mental state, I can see how there's an association there of, like, I mean, she definitely, at Camp Half-Blood, experienced a mind-altering level of trauma.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, which is why I was like, the options in my head are, he heard about this from May, heard her speak optimistically about his father's world, despite what happened to her, and has decided that she's sort of been, like, indoctrinated by them, considering he calls it Cult Half-Blood, because her story sounds horrific. Or he was slightly older in the show than he was in the books when this happened, and so he actually remembers seeing this and has formed his opinion based on that memory that he has as, like, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old. And so, like, he knows what his mom was like before and what she became. Either one could be true. Either way, though, this is something new for Luke from the books, because in the book he would know about camp by now because Hermes told him when he met him that he was going to send a satyr to bring him to Camp Half-Blood. But we have history, to me, implies that he knows what happened to his mom there. And I don't think his dad would tell him that willingly. So if he's known since before meeting Hermes, that would mean that he spent all of this time on the run knowing that there was a place that he could go and refusing to go. And then encountering Camp Half-Blood already against it.
I do want to flag, like, a couple interesting moments as well also in this, like, conversation. When Grover is talking to Thalia specifically, and he's trying to tempt her to come with him, he tempts her by saying, you'll finally get a chance to rest, to breathe. And I heard, like, chance to rest and immediately thought, like, he's tempting them with Nostos.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that it does seem tempting to Thalia.
Yeah. Tamara Smart's portrayal of Thalia is so measured. Like, you can see Grover's words working behind her eyes, and it's almost like she's schooling her expression until the moment she starts to really consider it, which is once it comes to Annabeth.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking, watching this moment, especially, like, Annabeth's description of her in season 1, because I think I can see where Annabeth's description comes from in her. Mm-hmm. You can see how she's so, like, she's so, like, decisive and can be quite standoffish and is very fierce when she fights. Like, she does come off as tough and kind of, I think her impression of her was she always felt like she had to earn it with her. Mm-hmm. And I see that, but at the same time, I'm also seeing a person I like.
Yeah, like, I think she kind of gives off the vibe that she probably cared a lot more than Annabeth realized sooner than Annabeth realized. It kind of gives the impression that, like, I wonder if it really had much to do with Annabeth at all. Like, that's the impression that Annabeth got, but it was sort of Thalia either trying to keep herself from caring too much or, like, trying not to show it so much, rather than it being, like, Annabeth having to earn it with her.
I mean, it makes sense to me, though. It's like, as a child, if someone's like that with you, you are going to internalize it. Mm-hmm. Because you're not thinking, like, well, what's going on with them, you know? As a kid, you're like...
No, you're just looking for reassurance, and she's going through her own thing, processing having a 7-year-old child.
I love that. I mean, again, this characterization of her is so dead on, both from acting and writing.
I think the last moment before it transitions to, like, Grover and Annabeth talking that I liked was, like, as the transition happens, you know, Luke sort of storms off, and Thalia follows him. Mm-hmm. And then you see them in the background, and Luke, like, throws his arms out like he's gonna start complaining about stuff. And you, like, know, if you've read Luke's diary, you know that, like, that conversation is basically just Luke being like, I don't want to do this, and Thalia being like, well, and him being like, okay. Whatever you say.
I didn't even notice that. I have to watch it. I feel like I've missed so many little things because of my freaking email address, like, splayed across this.
He, like, throws his arms out and, like, they don't fight. We talked about this when we read his diary. This entire episode is us referencing his diary. But when we read his diary, we were like, they don't argue at all. You can't even imagine them fighting. And so you know that it wasn't even an argument when she got over there. It was just a, like, I can't believe we're even talking to this guy. And Thalia being like, relax.
Also, I just want to once again flag the fact that all of this is happening around a Herm, probably. Like,
yeah. There's also, I didn't bring this up earlier, and maybe I should have. In present day, Annabeth is wearing the bag that she got from Hermes through, like, the entirety of the first couple scenes of this episode. So when she finds the bracelet, when they're on the beach, it's slung over her back. I kind of see it as, it is like, this is what Hermes gave me to protect us on this journey. But it's also like, he gave it to us with the agreement that, like, we are going to save Luke. So it feels sort of like a visual reminder. I don't know if it's that to anyone else, but but it's a little bit of a visual reminder of, like, why we're here. So to see her, like, wearing it while thinking of Luke in these scenes where, like, he wasn't the Luke that we know now. If you're the kind of person that hates Luke, you might watch it and see the kid that might have been saved at some point. Yeah. But yeah, it's just Hermes' presence in this episode is interesting with the bag and the Herms.
He kind of haunts this season.
Yes.
It's also, it's so interesting to see Aryan, like, Grover, who's such an optimist about the mythological world, presenting it in this way. And
also seeing him interact with a younger Annabeth. You, like, feel, I don't know, I was watching it and I was like, oh yeah, he is, like, how old is he now? 25? Like, you realize visually how much older he is, because you almost don't believe it.
Yeah.
It's funny to see the way he approaches being Thalia's protector versus Percy's protector. Not funny. Sad. Because he comes into the scene with such optimism and with, like...
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of that anxiety isn't there, that is there when he's talking to Percy and trying to make sure Percy makes it there safe. And you know exactly why. I mean...
Yeah. Also, before we move on, we did ask both Aryan and Charlie about their roles in these flashbacks, and I think now is probably a good time to play that.
Speaking of which, Charlie and Aryan, so this season we also get to see you two both play younger versions of your characters in flashbacks starting episode 4. So what was it like to channel that version of yourself before the loss of Thalia, Aryan?
Ooh, good question. I think, well, this is Grover's like first big gig, you know, so I think channeling a lot of that kind of excited nervousness and, you know, kind of whirlwind energy that Grover can sometimes operate out of was a big thing for me. But if anything, it just told me about how I should be playing Grover now. Because if like Grover back then is like super nervous and excited, I can't still be doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
There needs to be an evolution there.
Exactly. Like I know he ages different, but if anything, it just informed what my current performance has to be in order to match that.
That's
but
beautiful.
Yeah, it was weird playing Grover without any of that weight and just all of this like new kid excitedness, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think for me, like, playing the two different versions of Luke this season, the physicality was a big part of it. You know, I'm wearing so many layers, so I feel like you can't really tell. But
he's like, I feel immobile.
But that's something I worked with Andrew a lot, you know, was, for current Luke, definitely a stronger spine, more, you know, standing up straight. And then young Luke, I feel like, you know, he's always looking over his shoulder, he's always on the run, trying to figure out when his next meal is, blah, 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 you know. And so I think... And when it comes in terms of with Thalia and Annabeth, like at this point that we see them, you know, we don't get to see too much of just Luke and Thalia because now Annabeth is in the picture and they've kind of taken on this these parental roles and she's like the main, you know, or all of our attention is on her now and keeping her safe and making sure she's okay. But yeah, it was so much fun and even just to work with Aryan because we didn't really get anything in season 1, so. It was so fun to get to work with Aryan, and obviously
working with Aryan was like the big thing.
Yeah,
I think.
T is like incredible as well. She's awesome.
She's
Tamara.
amazing. Tamara.
Yeah.
She's so perfect. She's so perfect for it.
Like the second she came on, I was like,
And like seeing her attitude, like in person too, I'm like, yeah, girl, this is who you are. It's amazing.
So we cut back to Annabeth on the deck, looking down at this bracelet, which she then throws into the ocean.
How do you read her throwing this? Like, what do you think it's like a impulsive moment, or do you think she's like?
I think my thoughts on this are a little bit influenced by talking to Leah about it, but
this is true. We'll get to that.
Yeah, the way that I understood it before talking to Leah about it was that this was like both her thinking about this choice that she made later in the flashbacks and feeling like it's almost taunting her, this bracelet coming up now, and also for this reminder of Luke to pop up now. The bracelet just feels like it's taunting her generally, probably in her mind, although like I feel like we're gonna see this bracelet again, just putting that out there. In a later episode.
Yeah, because my read to me was almost, it was like, I don't know if you do this, but whenever I feel myself starting to go down the path of like a little bit of like a bad memory spiral, like things you can't change about the past, like if there's something that's like sparked that thought for me, I'll often remove myself from it. That's sort of what how I kind of interpret it. Then we get this Percy Tyson scene, which again, like stacked against this moment, the way these scenes are all interwoven with each other in this sequence. We get the flashbacks cutting back, getting the story of this bracelet, the throwing of the bracelet, and then we get this Percy Tyson scene where we talked a lot, and we even talked with Daniel about Tyson feeling lost, and also the importance of the word lost in this season so far. And then we just get this scene where Percy is like, wow, I know exactly where I am right now.
Yeah, I think I said this to you in our hotel room in LA, but like the audacity to say that in front of Tyson. To say that in front of like someone who has felt that lost and who has been making compasses.
Yeah.
And who's looking for his father, who's asking, when am I going to meet Dad? The amount, like, the interaction, the smallest interactions between Percy and Tyson in this episode, knowing how it ends, it's like a little bit torturous.
That's That's the thing, though. It's like Percy just sort of starts listing it off, and he's like, how can I do that? And Tyson, with this big smile, just says, Dad.
Yeah.
And then we get the other end of that, which is, why can't I wonder why I can't do it.
Yeah.
Although, that being said, like, knowing where I think this is going with the rainbow of it all, I love this as a setup moment of that.
Mm-hmm.
Of, like, Tyson feeling lost and, like, wanting to connect with Poseidon himself. And then, like, he leaves this scene and presumably finds Annabeth's bracelet and just starts playing fetch with Rainbow. Because that's what happens in my head.
Yeah, it's also what happens in my head.
Like, he gets distracted by playing fetch with Rainbow. And, you know, again, with the context of, like, what Grover says, because Grover lists Hippocampus as, like, one of the fun mythological creatures you can interact with. Like, Tyson, who's also one of these mythological creatures, coming off the boat, seeing, like, another from the sea, no less, and, like, playing with them and, like, having this incredibly positive moment off screen that does mirror sort of this vision that Grover is pointing of, like, a positive experience you can have. It's the layering. And then we also get this moment with Percy where after Tyson leaves, where he's, like, looking out in the sea and just says, thanks, Dad.
They were both sort of offered something from their dad in the same moment.
Yeah.
So Annabeth finds Tyson on the deck, saying that he's been playing with Rainbow. She takes the bracelet from him.
And I wrote down, she's just staring at that bracelet, thinking about how it's her fault what happened to Thalia. I'm gonna cry.
Yeah. Because this is the decision that she ends up talking about later. The decision to leave safety and go back to try and find this bracelet. I think this bracelet means more to her than just protection because of what she says to Grover in the last flashback. Because she says, like, Thalia's strong, Luke is fast, and I have this. And then realizes she doesn't have the bracelet. It's like the thing that makes her, like, a part of them. Like, it's her cool thing that she now has. Like, it does mean protection. It represents Luke's protection of her, but it's also, like, what makes her part of the team and not just, like, the little kid that's following behind them the entire time. Yeah, so she sneaks past a sleeping Luke and Thalia.
And Grover, who's just on the ground.
And Grover, who's just...
Do you think one of them was supposed to keep watch?
See, the setup here, I was like, I guess it's so safe you don't have to worry about it, but, like, no one's up keeping watch. Annabeth is behind them. Like, who puts a child at your back? Put her between you. It's fine. They're children. But, yeah, Annabeth sneaks out, and she gets caught. This is what Annabeth is remembering, this exact moment where she made this decision, when she chooses to throw the bracelet back out into the water. This is a moment that we asked Leah about also during our press junket, what she thinks is going through Annabeth's mind. And I love her answer. Okay, Leah.
Yes.
In episode 4, we see Annabeth find and continuously attempt to get rid of the bracelet that Luke gave her.
I have no idea why it keeps coming back. Like,
I was about to ask, what is going through Annabeth's mind when she sees it continuously wash back up on the deck of the Ironclad?
I don't think, here's my thing, is that I really don't think she wants to give it away. You can tell, like, how she looks at it every time when it comes back. It's not like why won't you just leave? Like, I feel like if she were to do that, it's in a way of, like, please leave so I can get out of my mind, because I keep thinking of, not even, like, the bad memories, but she keep thinking of the good memories, trying to change them, you know? I feel like sometimes when people see stuff, it's like, oh, no, I don't want to see it because it reminds me of the bad thing. But I feel like with her, she has to get that good thing out of her mind, or she will never look at Luke the way how he is now. You know what I'm saying? And she will still think that he's that same brother that took care of her and everything. So I feel like, you know, when she looks at it, she has to not force herself, but she has to get over it, basically, and she has to, like, realize that. So when it keeps coming back and things, it's not even a thing of, like, I hate this flipping bracelet, get away from me, it's ugly. Like, no, it's like, it means a lot to me. It means very dearly to me, and the reason why I want to give it away is because that's what it means to me, and that's where it needs to stay as, basically. You know, I want to keep that bracelet as wholesome as possible, and if I keep letting it stay with me even after it broken, it doesn't make sense. So I throw it in the ocean so it can leave its memory with it, basically.
Yeah, it's such a heartbreaking addition to the show.
So sad. So sad.
And it's the Monster Donut bracelet, so... Okay.
Oh my gosh.
The best part of episode 4.
Right, I know. It's a small shot of the Monster Donut box. I was like, that's me.
That's you.
It's interesting to me, though, that you called it the Bracelet of Broken Promises.
Mm-hmm.
When the way these scenes are stacked to me, the bracelet continuing to come back almost feels like it's hopeful, though.
Yeah, it sort of transforms over the course of this episode. Almost like it feels like a sort of don't give up hope that this thing might have been worth it almost, or like this might not have failed you completely. It is the catalyst for... I think I actually called it the Bracelet of Broken Promises and Misfortune. That was its full title that I gave it.
You should submit that to be a Myth of Magic item. Let's get Craig on the phone.
You put this bracelet on and it immediately causes so many problems. But I think it is transforming over the course of the episode. I don't think we know exactly what it represents now in the present yet. But in the past, it was a broken promise. It did spark a lot of misfortune, is why I called it that.
Yeah.
Go Monster Donut. This is the Monster Donut episode. Like, it's not just...
Really
there's
is.
not just a Monster Donut scene. There's, like, the entire episode is about us.
Here we really get the window into what Annabeth's thinking, because it's not just that the flashbacks, but then she's talking to Percy about it.
Mm-hmm.
And she's saying, we're gonna lose. It's just a question of how bad.
Yeah.
Talking about going into Sea of Monsters. Like, she's in such a lost place. She's basically saying, like, I think 6 steps ahead but, like, the truth is the best plan can be undone by the smallest mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And she references, the bracelet in this moment, too. And you can tell, like, she's just playing this over and over and over in her mind of, like, she thinks she was the mistake, basically.
Yeah.
Like, she sort of internalized this so much. And it's heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm. It was so smart of them to put an episode about choice immediately after revealing the Great Prophecy.
And not just choice, but about, you have Annabeth talking about, and because you can tell also, like, she's thinking about the Great Prophecy, too, in this moment of just, like, there's no way to control it.
Yeah. Like, you hear there's a choice to save or destroy Olympus, and you think, well, shouldn't the choice be clear? Is, like, all we have to do just keep Percy from going dark side? Is that kind of what the plot is? In which case, I know we can at least do that, because that's how all these stories go, right? And then this episode tells you, like, in 100 different ways, it will never be that simple.
Yeah.
Like, the choice is not going to be this clear, like Annabeth says here, that, like, it's not going to be that, like, big choice that she has to outthink. Because the big choice should be obvious, but, like, the little choices that lead you there are the ones that she can't anticipate.
Yeah. This hit me hard, too, because as I'm sure it also hit you hard. It made me think about all the times in my life I've been, like, I've thought I, like, controlled for every possible outcome, and then, like, I get blindsided by something I never even thought of.
Mm-hmm.
I just mean, like, I'm not very good at chess, but, like, every time I play chess, every single time, I, like, get everything so set up, and then it turns out, like, I've so fixated on what I'm doing that I always get completely blindsided by whatever my opponent's planning, and I'm just waiting for them to make that one move that'll lock everything into place. Meanwhile, I get demolished.
Mm-hmm.
But I've just been thinking about that too, of just, like, how you can fixate on certain specific things in a way that makes you not see others.
There's the added, like, she kind of foreshadows what Percy's choice is in the end of The Last Olympian, of, like, she says, my dumb choice led to Thalia's fatal one. And, like, the choice that Percy makes is to let Luke make the choice, The fact that Percy's choice isn't really the big choice in the end.
Yeah. I think, as you said, that scenario plays out so many times just even in this episode.
Yeah.
But one of them is what we kind of see play out even in this sequence with the flashbacks, where you have Annabeth so focused on her role in the story with Luke, Thalia, and Grover, where she's convinced it was her little decision to go back for the bracelet that set Thalia on the path of going to Camp Half-Blood and ultimately resulted in her end. But we even see in these flashbacks, the real catalyst was Grover. You see that's when the wheels start really turning. It's like the safety of it, and also the fact that, like, the older you get, the more dangerous it's going to be. The stuff that sets that in motion for me happens way before Annabeth gets lost. I think Annabeth getting lost is just sort of the final nail in the coffin, but it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, like if Annabeth wants to blame the bracelet, there's someone else she could be blaming for that one.
That's true.
Someone else made a choice to lead her there, but like it wasn't the bracelet. This was what led to this decision. It's the thing that made Thalia go, yeah, we do need to get this girl to safely, but like it's there on her face.
But if it hadn't been the bracelet, it would have been the next
Yeah,
time.
it's there on her face through the entire episode.
Yeah.
Every time safety comes up, she's looking at Annabeth.
What I find the most interesting, though, is not that it was a different thing that was the real catalyst, but just how much Annabeth has internalized herself as the catalyst.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I was sort of talking about blind spots, and that's kind of what I was getting at, too. It's like sometimes you also get so fixated on your own role in something, which I think, again, foreshadowing to The Last Olympian, you get so focused on your own role in something that you don't think about everything else going on.
But this is the promise I was talking about earlier that is very similar to the one that Luke gives. I still think he'll probably give a version of it, but Thalia says to Annabeth, what do you say we get off the road for a little while? You're family now, and we take care of our own. So if the safest place for you is this camp, then that's where we're going, even if we don't like it, and we don't. And then she tells Grover, so you let this Chiron know that if anyone tries to hurt this little girl, they'll have me to answer to.
And that moment, because at the beginning of this sequence, Thalia crashes through a window because she's the coolest.
Yeah.
But we get to see her in full action too, which I love. Like we get to see Aegis getting summoned like Riptide. We get to see her with the spear. And critically to me, like there's a moment in the fight where she stabs the Cyclops with the spear and the lightning comes. And then like having that sort of at the beginning of this scene, and then hearing her saying, if anyone tries to mess with this little girl, they'll have me to answer to, I immediately flash back to episode 1 with the lightning and the borders.
It's like, it's true. The tree means so much more when you look back at it after this episode, because it's like she's always, you now know her, and she's so protective.
Yeah. And then we see this decision carried mostly through Thalia walking off into the mist to face the three Furies by herself.
Luke running and holding baby Annabeth's hand.
And then present-day Annabeth says, it's never going to be the big, impossible choice I have to outthink. It's all the million little choices I can't see. The human choices. Like doubling back for a cheap piece of plastic or sacrificing yourself for a kid you barely know. When she says sacrificing yourself for a kid you barely know, part of me thought of the throne scene in season 1.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, it's the scene that we talked about also on the Arch, when there was like that more explicit parallel of like Percy staying behind.
Yeah, the rear guard.
Yeah, but Luke really got in her head with that when he said you knew her for 2 months. There's also so much Greek tragedy thinking in the way that Annabeth is thinking about this, that like, oh, if I can just outsmart it, I can save you. And it's like, Annabeth.
Like, it does feel like the beginnings of the conversation we're probably going to have about her fatal flaw.
Like, no matter how many stories she's heard, that it doesn't work like that. That she still believes that, like, a part of her still believes, if I can just think far enough ahead of the prophecy, I can outsmart the prophecy.
Yeah, because we talked a bit about how she got her faith shaken a little bit in her knowing Thalia with the conversation with Luke in the last episode. But I do think the bigger thing that's shaken her as well is that I think she came into the conversation with Luke in episode 3 thinking, no, he's been led astray, we can get him back. And I feel like that's something else, maybe that's been shaken, is like having that conversation with him that's forcing her to question all of this stuff. And I think she's also questioning her understanding of Luke. And Percy, who's this episode's therapist,
I know,
says, maybe we can't outsmart fate. Maybe all we can do is the right thing.
There's this moment we can't skip over. This is a great, like, Percy and Annabeth scene. But when she says, like, sacrificing yourself for a kid you barely know, Percy says, she knew you better than that. And Annabeth says 2 months. And Percy says, it only took me 2 days to see how special you are. Head in my hands. I think we talked about this. Was it last episode or the one before? I think it was the one before, episode 2, where we talked about, like, the way we've been rewriting Percy so that he's more active in drawing these stories out of people. He's just so, like, emotionally in tune with everyone on the ship. It's sort of one of his superpowers in this season especially.
I wonder if that's Grover's influence on him. Empathy link?
Empathy link. Grover starts acting more like Percy all of a sudden. Sort of like in Pacific Rim. But no, I think this is something that has always been a part of Percy's character, but I don't think he's ever been as aware of it and like actually used it on purpose. Like in the books, he's just the sort of person who people want to open up to. Like he has always been someone who can read people fairly well. Until it comes to, I know people are like, well, he didn't know that anyone was in love with him.
Blind
but,
spots, man.
Yeah, there's a
happen.
giant blind spot there. But otherwise, he has always had this sort of intuition, but it never like translated into this kind of empathy that we're seeing in the show.
Mm.
There is a very brief moment that I want to talk about at the very end of this scene, which is when Percy goes to help her up and says, let's go do the impossible. It's like the first that I've noticed explicit visual Thalia parallel. Because in the flashback that we just saw as Annabeth was telling her story, Thalia puts her hand out to help Annabeth up. You know, when she's telling her that they're going to protect her. Percy makes the same move to help Annabeth up. And so if we're in the middle of this very, you know, let's go do the impossible, we can accomplish this, don't worry. And then we get like a shot of Percy in the same pose as Thalia. And you're like, oh, well, that's not good. But from here, we head into Clarisse announcing to her crew that she has chosen Scylla. She's clearly torn up about this.
Her speech, though, she's getting so good at these speeches.
Mm-hmm.
She's saying, okay, like we're heading in and we're going to face the 3 trials. The trial of choice, a rock in a hard place.
Mm-hmm.
The trial of will, the siren's song. And finally, Polyphemus, the Cyclops who guards our prize. And I was like, Clarisse, what's that? The trial of...
Yeah.
Again, it feels so like, you know, it's very like quest rule of 3. It's giving hero's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this moment where she talks about her choice and she asks for 6 brave men to volunteer and all of their hands immediately rise.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, are you sure? And this guy like puts his hand down and you think maybe he's questioning it, but then he stands up and he says, for victory in Elysium, we will follow you anywhere, Captain. This was the moment where I was like, this episode is about putting faith in someone else. It's about leading, but on both sides, as I sort of mentioned.
Yeah.
It's about trust. We've got a couple of like little hallmarks in this episode of the times Odysseus's challenge is not so much a monster, but actually it's more with the crew.
Mm-hmm.
The bag of winds being the biggest one. That's a trial about trust, where they get so close and yet don't make it. It's also Scylla. It's a very similar moment of like, well, I'm going to have to sacrifice these men. And I think he also keeps from them exactly what they're about to go through. It's interesting to me because there's like multiple times in the Odyssey where Odysseus and the trust he has with his crew are a key piece of what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically, I think a lot of them are some of the most heartbreaking moments in the Odyssey, specifically the one with the bag of winds.
Yeah. This is where some of those Thalia Clarisse parallels that I was talking about were coming from for me.
I was going to ask about them because I did not pick any up, so I want to hear what you thought.
I mean, it was mostly this. It was you know, this back and forth of like, how do we protect those who are looking to us for guidance and who have faith in us? It was like watching Clarisse as someone who we know, you know, the people she's in charge of, the people in her care have always been so important to her. And like being a strong leader is always so important to her, and protecting those in her charge. Whether it's like these people on her crew, whether it's the wounded campers back at camp, later on the like Achilles parallels of like staying behind, like we talked about in The Last Olympian. It's like the people who she's supposed to be in charge of, who have putting their faith in her, she feels a lot of responsibility toward. And so watching her scenes of her trying to navigate, like, what do I do with this decision, against these Thalia flashbacks of Thalia also trying to make that decision for Annabeth. And sort of for Luke, as the like leader of the group and as the person Luke is always going to listen to, whether he likes it or not. But Yeah, it was these two girls facing the same choice. And also it was like later on in the next scene was when I actually started writing the note down, because of the moment where she says, I don't go home at the end of summer. Camp is home. If I don't get the fleece and camp, and she gets cut off. Like, I felt like that line, she really just sort of dropped all pretense and told us so much with a line that didn't even get finished. But it added this like layer of like camp as this place where you'll be safe, camp as this place that Thalia is now standing protecting, and that it's a place that Clarisse has found safety in and found home in. And this idea of both of them, like, if you don't go to camp, what are you left with? And then, you know, both of them in scenes at the end of this episode turning back to stand up and fight for these people who are looking up to them.
I love that read. I want to dig into it more when we talk about what happens at the end of this episode too with Clarisse, but I think that was also a good time for me to close the loop on what I thought the bracelet meant coming back. To me, that bracelet is sort of that reminder too of like how much trust and faith she did put in the people that were protecting her. Like, we've seen her with Athena in season 1, and now like also having to kind of lose it and deconstruct it with like Luke and Thalia. We've seen her try to keep throwing it away, but then she still can't help but have it come back. I keep saying faith, and I think the word I'm actually circling is responsibility, like in both meanings of it, right? Like the responsibility of you for other people, but also like your own responsibility, like how responsible you are for things that happen. Yeah. Like what I was just thinking about, like with everything you were saying with Clarisse and Thalia, about how we're watching Clarisse, especially this season, really step into responsibility. Like, I think she's sort of always known what it means to be in charge, but I think this is here where you really see her with no one else to turn to, having to really literally take the wheel. Because like even in the beginning of the season, we see her having to defer to Tantalus and always having like Chiron and Mr. D around, and now it's like it's just her. I think this is the first time she's really had to grapple with like really making the decisions.
Yeah, and it's tough for her. Like, while she's talking to Percy in this scene, one of the first things she says to him is, how did you do it? Like, last year, your quest. How did you survive it?
And then he once again says the exact wrong thing, which is,
I know,
I would have died a lot if it weren't for my friends.
Yeah.
That's like the worst possible thing he could have said to her.
He can't know that he's saying the worst things, but I loved this scene between the two of them. It felt very like we're taking the relationship that ends up being established in The Stolen Chariot and placing it here, because a lot of that relationship comes from that like forced vulnerability almost that turns up in The Stolen Chariot, where like Clarisse, in asking Percy for help, has to open up to him. In The Sea of Monsters, the vulnerability comes from like Percy seeing something that he never should have seen and then keeping it to himself. And like in the end, he tries to help Clarisse out, but they don't talk about it. And so I really like this episode instead, like actually saying, no, if Percy's on this ship, he's watching her make this difficult decision. He saw early on that like it was taking a toll on her, and actually is the one to start to reach out at this point.
Yeah, this conversation also made me wonder, because I don't think we ever get much on Clarisse's non-godly parent.
Yeah, we know that I think she is a year-rounder in the books, but she does like go home. She lives in Phoenix, and that's where she finds Chris. So it's not so much an implication of like, I can't go home in the book. Well, I feel like there is sort of that implication here.
I just realized this connects, because in episode 2, I remember Percy and Annabeth talking about how talking about a big prophecy makes it less scary, and he kind of offers her that. And he says, it's almost like they're made to scare you. To which Clarisse says, it doesn't scare me, despite the fact that we all saw her run down those stairs full of panic in episode 3.
And the way Percy lets her have it and is like, didn't think it did.
Yeah, he lets her have it. Like, And then they end the conversation with, we're not friends.
Yeah.
I love that it's like her knee-jerk response to having just been very vulnerable with Percy, though. Just like, no.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we're getting this. The way I was about to describe this is so stupid. Clarisse in the books sort of gets the Sharpay treatment from Percy but not she's not actually. So in High School Musical,
right?
You feel like she's reformed, and then she's back to being evil in the next movie.
In High School Musical 2.
In High School Musical 2. Like, we feel like we're friends now with Sharpay, and then she returns to her old ways. Percy in the books treats Clarisse like she is a Sharpay, but she's not. And, like, actually what's happening in the books is that, like, she is evolving as a character. And Percy just every time is like, I can't believe people like Clarisse now. And it's like, Percy, you hung out with her last time.
It's black and white thinking is what it is.
There's a whole short story where you hang out. So really, I mean, Clarisse is more of a Tess Tyler, I would say, who is reformed in the second Camp Rock movie.
Right.
Right. What is Percy Jackson if not Camp Rock to me? But I'm glad that this scene is here, because I'm assuming the show won't be like that. I'm assuming that the show will allow their relationship to develop over the next couple seasons, because the next time that we see Clarisse, if we're seeing Clarisse on her quest at all next season, we're probably not going to see a lot of Percy and Clarisse together. But it means that when Clarisse is back and we're dealing with the whole Clarisse's sort of reintroduction to the story, or to Percy's story in Battle of the Labyrinth, when we start getting to The Last Olympian, it's not going to be so much of like, I'm surprised that Clarisse is close with anyone. Like the way that Percy reacts to Chris or reacts to Selena. Percy's emotional involvement in these relationships is shifted, I think, by this scene. Is basically what I'm saying.
Which I really like, honestly, because I think it lets us connect with them a lot more as characters earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because I think a lot of people are clamoring for, like, Selena's introduction. But it's kind of interesting because I think, like, Selena being friends with Clarisse is sort of what makes us like Clarisse. But I actually wonder if now that, like, Percy's relationship with Clarisse is evolving, it'll actually be the inverse, where it's like, instead of introducing us to the part of the side of Clarisse we really like through Selena, it's like we get introduced to Selena through Clarisse, the person we already like. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think having this season where we're watching Clarisse and like learning about Clarisse, that she is like seeking connections, seeking relationships like this, and that she came on this quest on her own with no friends, to see that version of Clarisse meet Selena or like start to interact with Selena in some way, that makes it so much worse. I mean, we already talked a little bit about this already, but like seeing this version of Clarisse connecting with these people and watching them leave her.
That's such a good segue into the next part. Can we talk about, I wrote "This is cinema" in all caps, like every other note for this whole next sequence.
Yeah, it's crazy. The horror.
But like the transition, but like also this transition we get to her with tears in her eyes.
Yeah. With
this music as they're going. Barry McCurry. It's like kind of triumphant, but has this tinge of.
I mean, this moment, like the silence on deck, watching people get ripped off.
I love that they capture, because I've talked so much about how the Odyssey is horror, and I love that they. It's just like this thing in the dark.
When I was watching this, there was this real like grief for the people who were being pulled off of the ship, as if I didn't know none of them make it, you know?
Yeah. It's also this, I think it's in this moment too where it's the British guy.
It was so funny. I was trying to remember his name. I was like, the lead guy, Reardon.
No, not Reardon. He's in. They all have names in the credits.
Yeah, I know he has a name.
Yeah.
I can't remember it.
But I love this moment of him. He like kind of realizes what's happening. Like, he sees Scylla and he has his gun out, and then he realizes nothing matters, and he just puts the gun down. And then he makes eye contact with Clarisse. And it's this moment where it seems like, and then he nods. Like he's like, I'm ready for this.
I didn't notice the nod.
And that's what breaks her.
It's the way that, like, the horror of realizing that you were a sacrifice.
And this is the guy that was the one who said, like, I will follow you anywhere for this. And then she absolutely rejects Odysseus with the wheel.
And whips them back toward Charybdis.
Then she says, heroes slay monsters, they don't run from them. Which is very similar to our Sally Jackson being a real hero means standing up for others moment. And I love this callback in this moment. because again, we like with the responsibility of it all, with the like trusting,
and with Percy trying to make the other choice.
Yeah, but then to your, I can't remember if you said this on an episode or if you said this to me when we were talking about this though. The scale of Scylla and Charybdis, because the thing is, they whip towards Charybdis, and instantly you see there is no way. There's no way you can take this thing. Yeah. It is the scale of this monster is so vast. It doesn't even feel like a monster. Like, I was thinking a lot about what you were talking about in our first episode of like nature. Like, it just felt like.
Yeah, I think I actually talked about this in the Odyssey episode that we did, because we were talking about placing Scylla and Charybdis at the front of the Sea of Monsters, and the way that like Polyphemus is there to introduce the horror of like what you're about to be confronted with.
Yes.
And that like something like this has never existed to us in this universe to this point. It just completely, I mean, it's what we talked about when we read The Sea of Monsters also, that like the entire world of Percy Jackson opens up in this moment. It's like it's unlike anything we've ever seen.
It's like we've been dipping our toes into the mythological world, and now we're... I mean, Scylla, too, I don't want to... Like, there's a moment we see her as she grabs a few more of the guys where it's like she's got, like... It's like she's got tentacles, she's got crab claws, she's got... It looks like she's, like, this amalgamation of all of these, like, sea creatures. It's so cool, the design.
You know what's stupid? Similar to The Rise of Skywalker, you can actually find some more lore on this in Fortnite.
Why are we starting a sentence that way?
In Fortnite, you get a much clearer view of Scylla.
Wait, we didn't even talk about the fact that you played Fortnite.
Yeah. The new Percy Jackson like Fortnite collaboration, you fight Scylla, and you can like clearly see Scylla because you like actually sort of fight them. So if you want to see, I'm assuming something close to what the like full design is out of the shadows, out of the mist, I guess go play Fortnite.
How was it?
Oh, how was the game? It's fun. I'm really bad at Fortnite. It's probably more fun if you're good at Fortnite. I am as good at Fortnite as I've always been, which is that I always make it to like the top 5 people, if not like the top 2 or 3. But it's because I'm really good at hiding. If I'm playing Battle Royale. Not helpful in this version of the game.
So, Clarisse completely tracks them into Charybdis. And I think this is a moment the text of this episode is pointing us to, as a direct refute to Annabeth's point earlier in this episode, where Annabeth says, small choices. I was actually expecting her to freak out about this a little bit more, but it seems like her and Percy just immediately go into, okay, this is happening. Problem-solving mode. Like, they're not trying to talk Clarisse out of it. They're just like, okay, now what?
I think there's no talking Clarisse out of it at this point. She's got a gun.
So immediately they cook up a scheme, which is very similar to what Percy had initially suggested that Annabeth told him was impossible earlier in the episode, where he's like, well, let's just like try and skirt by, basically.
Yeah, this was interesting to me because we're like, Annabeth says small choices about Clarisse's decision. But this feels like the small choice that ends up setting them on the path that dooms them. Because, like, maybe Clarisse's plan would have worked. But, like, Percy jumping in and being like, I'll fix this, is so Percy. He can never stay out of anything. It's what we talked about last episode, that, like, inability to step back and, like, let someone else make a choice. It's like, we've seen it twice in a row, this flaw in action, this time with disastrous consequences, because he says, like, I know better. If I just jump in, I can control the tide, and you can go get the thermos, and we will have saved the day. He can't. Yielding is not in his vocabulary yet.
Nope, he is not yielding. So Annabeth grabs the thermos. Percy runs out, and again, this is why I thought that Annabeth Tyson moment way at the beginning of this episode was important to flag. Is there's this moment here where Percy's on that prow and he's trying to make things happen, and there's nothing happening, and he just yells, Tyson, more power. And I was like, this is the moment. But even then, the narrative is like, no, because to me it was interesting too. And tell me if you had a different interpretation of this, because you probably did. I, as the book reader, I'm now looking for, like, what are the real moments? What are the real choices that set us on these paths? And so I see Annabeth running and Percy running out to control the tides, and I'm like, maybe it's this moment. And then I'm seeing Percy shot to Tyson, more power, and me knowing what happens in the book is like, oh, this is Percy dooming Tyson.
Mm-hmm.
That's the moment. But then the episode, what actually is the thing that really blows them all up is when Annabeth trips.
Yeah, it's an accident.
It's not a choice.
It's not even a choice.
Like, she just trips and falls, and the thermos of wind goes flying. All of these things, and it's not even the choice that really does it.
Mm-hmm.
It's this moment, and then there's this moment where she and Clarisse get to the threshold of the engine room, and they both just look at each other.
Yeah.
And the look on at least Dior's face on Clarisse's face is like, oh no. Like, she's like, oh, we're dead.
Yeah.
We're dead. And it's like, I just love this, like, moment of this, like, Annabeth's so afraid of choices.
Mm-hmm.
And she trips, and that's what happened. Like, it's her tripping. It's not her choice. It's not anything she could have planned or accounted for.
Mm-hmm.
The ship starts to blow. Such a Greek tragedy moment.
Mm-hmm.
So in the spirit
Especially
of it.
because earlier on in the episode, we've got Percy saying, like, all we can do is try and make do the right thing. And, like, hope, let's go do the impossible. And then everything goes so wrong because Clarisse tried to do the right thing. That's sort of the choice that kicks us all off. Every subsequent choice is someone trying to do the right thing in this situation. And it just leads them closer and closer to the end.
This sequence is so good. Like, oh my god.
We didn't mention, and maybe we should have, when we were in Vancouver, we were shown an early version of, like, the shot where Percy is stumbling across the deck at the very end. It's so crazy how much of this is practical.
Yeah. We literally watched the stunt people get, like, snatched off the ship one by ropes. And, like, we saw Dior, like, coming out and going to the gun. We also have snaps for Dior's scream acting, by the way.
Yeah.
In this episode.
And, like, Walker stumbling to the front of the ship and, like, the actual, waves coming up around him. I was like, how's he doing that?
Genuinely, it was like blue screen, all of them in harnesses, and it was still breathtaking.
Yeah.
How cool this
and, like,
was.
they talked about how, that they, like, found the perfect tilt for the water to slide off in the way that they wanted it to, but also for people to be able to walk on it. And I think they said it was, like, 8 degrees was, like, the perfect angle.
Yeah. They had a scale model of it that we got to see. That was super cool. Because by the time we were there, they had completely taken it apart.
Yeah, it was kind of in pieces around, which was too bad. I would have loved to have seen it.
There's this moment, too, where we get to see all of them realize what's about to happen, except Percy.
Yeah.
There's a moment where Clarisse and Annabeth, there's a moment where Tyson's, like, on fire, and he looks around, he's like... And then I didn't even notice this until I think the third time around. But the last two people on the ship are Percy and Annabeth's just holding on, like, for all she's got. And Percy, like, but there's just this moment where he looks up and he sees the eye of the storm. Mm-hmm. And I was like, the eyes are back. And then the episode ends with him just closing his eyes. I also, in this moment too, the expressions on all of their faces, the way everything's getting blasted apart, it just feels like they are all just being given into fate in this situation. They have zero control over what's about. Like, there's no control.
Watching the Ironclad get torn apart like that, it's like the situation feels so hopeless. I do think that seeing Percy in the eye of the storm, looking up at the sky, watching him get closer to it, does give us a little bit of that, like, at least he'll be okay, I guess.
The person where I'm like, how the hell? It's Clarisse.
I know.
How the hell is she because we know how Tyson gets out from the book.
Yeah.
And presumably Percy, low-key, like, watching the credits again, I was like, oh, I wonder if this is where the bubble is. Like, I wonder if Percy and Annabeth are going to be in the bubble.
I feel like predictions time, because we haven't seen anything after this.
I mean, we've seen the preview to episode 5
yes.
that you all will have also seen. But
I feel like this is a little bit of a, like, Calypso's Island situation, where, like, we are being blown somewhere. And, like, we wake up on Circe's Island, maybe. Like, with no clue of, like, how we ended up there. That's my guess. Because it gave me strong, like, Calypso's Island, both from, like, Percy Jackson and Heroes of Olympus, of that, like, being blown out into the sky.
Yeah.
So that's my theory.
What an episode.
What an episode. One of the craziest things I've ever seen. I can't wait for people to see this.
I know.
What is our bead for the episode of all time?
You know what? Actually, I do have an answer to this one. It's the wins.
Mine's the bracelet. I think both for probably similar reasons, though. The choice of it all.
I think the bracelet, that's the symbol of, like, the misguided, the thing you think is the problem, but it's not. Versus mine is the thing that is the problem that no one thinks is the problem.
Yeah.
It's, like, sort of the opposite. But also, it's like the Odyssey callback, too. Because that's the moment Odysseus loses the trust of his men. And it's one of the most heartbreaking parts of the whole, it's the trust.
Thank you all for listening to Monster Donut. Next time, episode 5, we check into Cece's Spa and Resort, I think is the name of the episode.
This is our last chance. Pirate predictions.
Pirate predictions. My pirate predictions are that Blackbeard is there, but not all of the guinea pigs are pirates. It's sort of like Clarisse's ship, where, like, we're not all Confederate soldiers anymore. We all come from different eras.
I didn't bring this up because I didn't want us to get off track, but when we were talking about Clarisse and choosing the men to sacrifice, I was like, it's giving Silver.
In which episode?
It's one of the, I think it's maybe the third to last episode where he's talking about, like, all the men he has to volunteer to, like,
oh my god, the 6 men.
Yes!
Literally the 6 men.
Wait, it was 6?
It was 6 men.
Oh, I should have brought this up sooner. Sorry, okay. This will mean nothing to people who haven't seen Black Sails, but it will mean a lot to people who have.
If you've read Treasure Island, you know what this means.
It's in Treasure Island?
That is one of the only things that is adapted in Black Sails. It's actually, I think, like, the only thing that's adapted in Black Sails.
That scene goes so hard.
But it's not. So, in Treasure Island, there is a story told about how Captain Flint took 6 men from his crew, went off into the forest, buried his treasure, and then killed all 6 of them so that he was the only one who knew where the treasure was. So he brought them out there to help him, killed them all. That is the myth that has come out of what is shown in Black Sails, which I'm not going to spoil.
It's so good.
But it's so cool how they're like, that story, not at all what you thought it was.
Anyway, sorry. What were we talking about?
I was trying to outro us. If you have any thoughts or questions or just kind of want to scream about this episode with us, please reach out to us over email, monsterdonutpodcast@gmail.com, or on all of our social media, at PJOpod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads. This episode is the one I've been, like, counting down, like, just waiting for this one to come out. On all of those social medias also is our link tree, where you can find a link to our merch shop if you'd like to get your Monster Donut merch. Hopefully by the time this episode is up, I'll have cool new Monster Donut merch. We need to make, like, cereal-based Monster Donut merch now. But yeah, links to our merch shop are there. It's monsterdonut.redbubble.com. We've also got links to our coffee on there and to our Patreon, which is where we've currently got some, like, exclusive content surrounding the set visit up there. We're gonna post a episode that we recorded while we were in Vancouver up there. That's, like, the full story of our experience. And there's plenty of other bonus content over there. And hopefully we'll be doing interviews soon. So you'll also get the heads up that those are coming up and you can submit some questions. However, if you are unable or uninterested in joining our Patreon, you can also still support us through leaving us a rating, reviewing us, leaving a comment wherever you are currently listening to this podcast. We appreciate it so much. We try to read every comment that we get.
We are also eventually going to do a wrap-up episode of Season 2 and everything we've discussed. So if you have any comments, questions, or analysis you want to contribute to that, the inbox is open. So much to discuss.
so much. The season is crazy. I can't even imagine what's at the end of the season.
I know. And I saw Dan on I think a Seaweed Brain the Seaweed Brain interview was hyping up the back half of the season.
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you doing in there?
It's so funny because when we were in Vancouver, I was like, they showed us so much. How could they show us so much? I know so many things now, and now I'm like, I know nothing.
We didn't know shit.
I know nothing.
We didn't know shit.
All right, last but not least, thank you to all of our patrons. Latino Kaya, Patty VCK, Bethany from Public Works, Sydney Fox, Joke, Reina Abila Ramirez Arellano, Fronte Libo, Ethan Not Nakamura, Kels, Mason Bowman, Casey Cassidy, Busy Cat, Natalia, Melissa Rounds, Cake Coffee, Sasha, Alana, Pamela Ion, The Kid on Her Own, Grace Junker, Kaylee, Mana Munchian, Calamity, Eddie Burns, Sarah Brown, Colby Redfern, Annie's Not Cool, Theseus, May, Anna, Christina, Bad Luck, B, Baster, and Austin Savat. Thank you all so much for listening.
See you next time for the Sirens.
Verbo's last-minute deals make chasing fresh mountain powder incredibly easy. With thousands of homes close to the slopes, you can get Epic Pow, Freshies, First Tracks, and more. Find last-minute deals with the last-minute filter on the app. Book a private vacation rental now at Vrbo.com.
For 25 years, Brightview Senior Living Associates have been committed to creating a vibrant culture and delivering exceptional services, making Brightview a great place to work and live. If you're looking for a rewarding opportunity to serve your local community and grow, we want you to join our team. Brightview Senior Living is growing and actively seeking vibrant associates to join our community teams, including directors, healthcare, activities, hospitality, and dining. Apply today at careers.brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal employment opportunities. Text BV Jobs to 97211 to apply.
Avoiding your unfinished home projects because you're not sure where to start? Thumbtack knows homes, so you don't have to. Don't know the difference between matte paint finish and satin? Or what that clunking sound from your dryer is? With Thumbtack, you don't have to be a home pro. You just have to hire one. You can hire top-rated pros, see price estimates, and read reviews all on the app. Download today.